Welcome to the second hour-ish of the Spanish Announce Table on SpanishAnnounceTable.net and TrendingTopicsNetwork.com.
T-Mac is always ready. He's like lunch meat, he told me during the break.
Yeah.
T-Mac, you
Come
ready
on
for this?
with it.
The second hour-ish.
Second hour-ish, boy.
And for long-term listeners, you know what the second hour-ish means. It means we've got somebody to talk to. You get to hear somebody else besides us ramble on about the same stuff over and over again.
Come on with it. Who we got this week?
We've got let's color the backstory here a little bit, right? Did I just make up a phrase?
Yeah, I like
or did
it.
I just butcher two phrases together?
Be original. It's all
Let's
you.
color it here, right? So we've got a great sports radio station in town, 610 Sports, right?
Yes, indeed.
You used to work at the Competitor.
I used to work at 810.
You used to work at a couple competitors, actually.
I worked at 810, and then I worked at Cumulus, but Cumulus doesn't count because.
No, that was a deal. You were working a show on a deal.
Yeah.
You weren't employed by them. Yeah. So there's a gentleman on there who I've heard many times over the airwaves playing some John Cena intro music, and I knew, hey, you don't just randomly pick John Cena music, right? Like, this guy's got to be a wrestling fan. And I'm leaving work, and he's filling in on the drive, as they call it here, and he's discussing WrestleMania, right? Because WrestleMania is obviously a hot topic. And he starts bringing up something that you've lamented about, and
millions of times
I've griped about. Kansas City, our lovely town here, won't step up and build an arena, or at least build a roof to one arena that they already have to make WrestleMania come here and the Super Bowl and some various other events. And he's going off on this and has got all kinds of numbers, and he knows what he's talking about, and that cemented it for me. I reached out to a common friend, coworker of his, and got this gentleman to come talk to us. It's Ron Hughley. Ron, you there with us?
Yes, sir. I'm
man.
really excited. Huge wrestling fan. Listen to the podcast. Love the podcast. You guys crack me up. The lunch meat line, I might have to steal.
Oh, yeah.
Go
At
ahead.
some
Go
point.
ahead.
But, yeah, man, just kind of jump in where you guys were talking about, man. And I said this many a times. Kansas City is one of those. You all are obviously wrestling marks. You know, there are certain cities that are synonymous with wrestling and have roots of wrestling. Whether that's Minneapolis, whether that's, even in Dallas, with the Van Eriks. Kansas City is one of those towns that is synonymous with wrestling. And if they had a facility that could attract and could fulfill everything that is needed for WrestleMania, it would be in the rotation. And the example I gave is Minneapolis is one of those cities that is a wrestling city, one of the 16 different Ric Flair countries, and they built the huge arena, and they've already got the Super Bowl booked, and WrestleMania is coming, and it's just as the stats I gave 2 years ago when it was in Santa Clara, in the 7 days it was like $175 million that it brought to the city.
Yeah, just the local economic impact. That's not even WWE's profit.
78% of the people attending the events were out of the county lines. So it's not even, it's people traveling all over the world, as you guys know.
Right.
And man, it's just so frustrating to understand the impact that would bring in. I mean, we see how Raw and, to be honest, I'm really surprised that Kansas City doesn't get enough pay-per-views, to be honest with you. But we see how Sprint Center goes crazy. I mean, WrestleMania here would be so amazing, and Power and Light would be the whole downtown, everything that WWE brings, because this essentially is the closest thing to Super Bowl week in this country.
Yeah, if you made some event out of, like, get Power and Light involved and have one of the WrestleMania Access things going on over there, I mean, it would be insane.
Oh, God.
Well, with your idea and kind of like hope that a WrestleMania comes here, do you think any of our existing buildings could facilitate a WrestleMania, or do you think we would need to create a entirely big, brand new stadium for events? But wink, wink, nod, nod. This is actually for WrestleMania.
No, we don't have a facility right now because New York was dicey because of the weather, and it's in April, and they would only go to New York. Was the only outside venue in troublesome weather that they would go to because it's New York. I mean, New York, and I don't even think they would
the number one market
to, do it at Soldier Field.
Yeah, no.
But like the idea that I had was, you blow up Kauffman Stadium and you blow up Arrowhead. You move Kauffman Stadium downtown to me near like the Riverfront Park area, which I think you could extend parking, which would bring money downtown. And then you build essentially a brand new Arrowhead, very similar to what they did in Minneapolis. And then thus you have your facility where you can host Super Bowls and WrestleManias and things of that nature.
Beyonce concerts.
Yep. Yeah.
No, and I say that because
you
right, yeah, because you brought that up.
Beyonce concerts.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a moneymaker too.
My question.
I'd say this: the Edwards Jones Dome is a dump. But if it were in Kansas City, they would have had a WrestleMania. It shows you the difference. I mean, God bless Bob Orton and Randy Orton, but St. Louis is not synonymous with wrestling like Kansas City is. So, I mean, if they even had a dump, they would have it there.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, remember back when they had the idea to propose that rolling roof where it would go over Kauffman and then it would roll over and go over Arrowhead. Don't you think that would have been the perfect chance to get a WrestleMania at least talked about? Because a rolling roof, we would hide ourselves from the elements of weather because, hey, now we have a roof. Now we're like, not to the magnitude of it, but now we're like a Dallas Cowboy Stadium where, hey, we can be outdoors. Nope. Now it's raining. We can be indoors. I thought that was our best chance, but it seems like.
Yeah, but I can't remember though. It wasn't completely enclosed though, right? Like it was just going over.
I don't remember.
No, yeah.
Could you control the weather?
No, I think it wasn't. I think it was I think it would, get close, but yeah, I don't think it would like attach. So yeah, I think there would still be, it would be stopping rain and things like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but it's still maybe 40 degrees out there wrestling, and
they seem to be going to newer.
They would want to avoid from their fans too.
Right. Yeah, they seem to be going to newer, higher end stadiums these days anyway.
I feel like they were just in New Orleans. And they're going back to New Orleans again, which was.
Yeah, they're going. They were there for 30, and then now they're there for 33. So yeah, a 3-year difference. Which, I mean, I like New Orleans, and it seems like a well-off place and a good party town. But I don't know if it's that great of a party town. What I'm saying?
To space them out, like there were, I would. Like that was just odd to me. It's almost like they were having trouble going to places or something.
And this is kind of a heated political debate when you get into, now you're talking destroying 2 stadiums and then building 2 new ones. The owners aren't going to pony up all of that money, and in fact, they're going to try to get out of almost all of it. And then you have this, contentious battle generally between the owners of now 2 organizations in a city. So where do you fall in line with some of that discussion?
Well, and this is the fight you get. And, and I get into it on my show all the time when I go into discussions of situations like this in terms of building new stadiums is, our mindset is very small town minded in this area of Kansas City. And, the thought is, well, we're taxpayers. We're not paying for those stadiums. Well, we don't want to pay for those stadiums. Okay, good. Look, guys, this is the going rate. This is how things are done in America in professional sports. Do you want to be like Oakland and have your team move? No, I don't think so. And people, have these, and I understand Kauffman Stadium and Arrowhead are great. I mean, but Kauffman Stadium's not Fenway, okay? And then people have attachments to that. And I think that the taxpayer issue is the biggest thing about people not wanting to pay for it. But then they talk outside of their mouth and say, well, we want to be looked at as a bigger city, and why do other cities get these events that we don't get? But this is the price of doing business. Why would these leagues pay for stadiums when everyone else is doing it? Are we going to be thought that Clark Hunt and David Glass are going to say, you know what, we're going to be the change. We're going to be the first ones to not pay for our own stadium. No,
Right.
they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And why would they? And then but the city is going to make that money back. And when you have events and have a facility like that, it brings recognition to your city. It makes your city seem bigger, and everything that's going downtown, it's just something that it's really hard for the mindset to change for the people in this city to get on board with that, because that's the biggest hurdle. Well, I don't want to pay taxes for that. Do you don't want to pay taxes for that? Do you want the Chiefs to go? No. Do you want the Royals to go? No.
Right.
So, I mean, those leases, by the way, have only 15 years on them. That sounds like a long time from now, but that's not a long time. 15 years, you better start doing something about having a plan.
Right. There's a lot involved, so that doesn't go away easy.
Well, let's have some fun here. Let's do a little fantasy booking for us three Kansas Cityans. Let's say that WrestleMania was coming here next year to Kansas City, and you said, you know, we are one of the best wrestling cities in the country. That's, you know, obvious. You know, our ties to Central States Wrestling, Harley Race, so on and so forth. Let's try to fantasy book. What would be the marquee matches that you would put for this WrestleMania if it were being in Kansas City?
Well, I mean, if you want to appease to the crowd, I mean, Baron Corbin's got to be involved in this in some form or fashion because he's a local kid.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, so that obviously is a no-brainer. But I think the big guns, you know, are the ones you have to put out. Like, hopefully to God, we wouldn't be looking at Cena being placed in a freaking match with his girlfriend against The Miz and his girlfriend. God, I just did not understand that at all, using him that way. And I'm a fan of Cena, so maybe that's a part of it. But, you know, just having, you know, the great big matches with Cena being in something that made sense, and Roman Reigns being in something that made sense. I just think the big guns, but obviously positioning Baron Corbin as one of the big draws because he's a hometown guy.
I think, that you've got to find a way to work that in somehow, and he's got to, you know what I mean? They're going to have that long ramp. He wants to be the motorcycle guy. I think maybe you could get into that somehow. I don't know. There could be some fun stuff with that. Well, listen,
By the way, let me ask you all a question real quick. I don't mean to go off
by all
script
means.
with you, but
by all means.
Do you feel like SmackDown is kind of getting hosed here with this superstar shakeup? It feels like to me they are a superstar short. Like it feels like it's not a fair trade-off with what they lost and what they gained.
I thought that too, but man, the ones they did get, they got Kevin Owens, they got Charlotte. Those are two of the most heavy hitters that Raw had. I mean, the most consistent. You can put them in anything, and they will always make a good, you know, story out of it.
Yeah.
So you got two solid bookings
but then it's
each
like,
time.
Then it dropped to Sami Zayn, and I'm like, you know, you
Uh-huh.
give up Bray, you lose Dean. Like those are two big guns that they gave up, and not to mention, you know, Little Miss Bliss, who was probably the top wrestler in the women's division on SmackDown, and they already have Reigns, they already have Rollins, I kept waiting at the end of the show last night. Okay, there's somebody else that's coming because they seem short.
I still think
maybe Rusev gets a huge push, but I don't.
Well, when Rusev comes back, he's really good also. And the thing is, I think SmackDown was heavier loaded anyway, so maybe they're trying to even it out a little too.
You thought SmackDown
Really?
was
You
more
thought
heavy loaded?
I didn't think that at all.
With good talent, yeah.
I thought,
with good people that,
see, I
that I
thought
want
they
to
were
watch.
coming into this
No.
saying we're going to make SmackDown and Raw try to make them even, because we've always known that Raw was the more important show, the 3-hour show. But I thought they were trying to even that out, and it just felt like, God, after you play with AJ, Cena, and you dig up Randy and Bray, it was like, who else is really main event worthy?
Yeah.
Well,
But-
I think actually SmackDown got the best of the two, and I might be the odd man out in this conversation, but I thought they added, because Nakamura is going to be a top guy. He'll run through Ziggler, so then Nakamura will be in the title picture. So then you got this like halo of AJ Styles, Randy Orton for the time being, Nakamura, and Kevin Owens, right? That's like your 4 guys that you can circle through. And then you got where I thought they sucked at the most, and I love SmackDown. SmackDown's been my favorite show since the draft started. But I thought they
think
were
the
really
writing is
weak in the
better.
middle. And I thought that's where they added the most, because now you have Rusev, you have Sami Zayn, you have Baron Corbin, you have more, and even the New Day, because eventually the New Day is going to break up. So there's 3 stars right there. So I think
That
they
needs to
added
happen
more to that
soon.
middle, because it was just like, all right, Dolph Ziggler and Apollo Crews. And it's like, well, I don't want to see that shit. No one wants to see that. So I thought for the 2 hours, I thought SmackDown actually got more of the.
It's true. They are a 2-hour show. Yeah.
The meat. Yeah. Because 3 hours. Yeah. If you were saying 3 hours, they're both 3 hours. Yeah. SmackDown would be like, all right, another New Day segment. You know what I mean? Where with a 2-hour show, I think everyone's going to get good time.
Well,
I
let's
didn't
get
mean to take you off topic. That was
No, and that's fine. This kind of segues into some stuff. We'll talk about you and your wrestling fandom past here. We've got a segment that we do on these shows when we have guests on here, and it's the same 5 questions that we ask each guest, so that way we get a good gaze across the just the whole world. Right? We're going global on this one. But we're the Spanish announce table, right? We're cool guys, man. We can't be calling it 5 questions, right? We got to come up with something better than that, so we call it
5 preguntas.
All right, you speak Spanish?
Nope.
Yeah, neither do we. So you can rest easy.
So you're in the clear.
So you're good. All right,
Buenas
so
noches. This is about as much as I got.
right, yeah, you're beating us. All right, who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh man, this is odd. I am a huge Bad Guy fan.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Hall is my guy.
Yeah.
It started with the intro music, but he was like probably one of the best medium guy wrestlers. Like he could sell him fighting 1, 2, 3 Kid and Kevin Nash, and I thought his mind was really good. A lot of people who are deep into wrestling know he had a lot to do with the ideas and finishes during the NWO stuff. So I'm a big Scott Hall fan, even drunk Scott.
Okay, yeah, right. He was
awesome.
cool then too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome then. He's great for us. I don't know about for
I'm
himself, but
telling
we
you,
love him.
Scott is.
All right,
Hall
what
is my
is your
guy.
favorite match of all time?
Oh man. So my early days, my first was that I can really remember is WrestleMania 6 in Toronto. And I feel stupid now because now I look back at it, it's an awful match. But that Hogan Warrior match, I don't know, that was the one that drew me in.
Yeah.
But I think now when I really look at it, I think SummerSlam, the TLC match with the Hardys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys.
Mm-hmm.
I can rewatch that match like over and over again. It was like really the first time we really ever saw the dynamic of that, especially on the big stage. And when Edge speared, I think it was one of the Hardys when he was hanging on to the bell up top. Oh my God, that was nuts. So that's probably my favorite match too.
I like that. Those are great. Those are great idea. Yeah, that Hogan Warrior. I mean, obviously that's not going to be a classical masterpiece, but that was a story told well.
Oh,
Yeah, that
man.
was a great story because at the time you had never seen your two favorite baby faces
Yeah.
going
Face
up
to
against
face,
each
yeah.
other. That's where it was like, because even like Smarks have been around since the beginning of wrestling, right? Like there's always been the guys like, I know what's going to happen here. That guy's going to win, right? And Smarks back in the day could probably predict, WrestleMania 5, Hogan beats Macho Man, right? You know what I'm saying? But then
Yeah.
WrestleMania 6, the Smarks and the kids like us were just like, wait a minute, who's going to win this shit?
Right.
Like, that's incredible. So, yeah, I agree with you. That's one of my favorite
No, the
matches as well.
story. Yeah, the story they told, like Jesse the Body, had me convinced that Hogan really hurt his knee
Yeah.
in that match. Like I was convinced. Oh, it went out. Oh, the patella tendon, it went out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really had me convinced.
Yeah,
And
that was
Turas, yeah,
great.
he's underrated, I think, in that role
Oh yeah,
on the mic
God,
there.
much better than. Can we please get rid of David Otunga? I mean, I love Jennifer Hudson and
Sure.
her husband, but he is awful.
Yeah, he's
God, he is
terrible.
not ready for this stage. And Byron Saxton can go with him as well. Corey Graves and JBL are legit. Those two can. God, they just bring it down for me.
Yeah. No, I think we agree 100% in our assessments on those announcers. This next one here, this is a little bit. So typically we're talking to people in the wrestling industry. So maybe yours is radio based, or let's just whatever comes to mind when I ask this question. Who's your biggest influence?
I would say the NWO, because what I really picked up was through the Attitude Era, and I think they were the ones who really knocked the doors down in the
Yeah.
Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely my favorite time of wrestling. So if I were influenced by any group, now I watched the WWE more during that time period, but I think that whole time period is influenced heavily by the NWO, the original three, and I'd just have to say that then.
I like that.
All right, let's get right into this fourth one. What is your favorite term in pro wrestling? And what we're talking about here is heel, babyface, skin the cat, things like that. What is your favorite wrestling term?
I like kind of behind this the heat seekers. I think maybe that's why I like Scott Hall. He was a heat seeker. He didn't give a damn if. I remember him making the line in an interview. When I went to WCW, my thought was I wanted to make friends and money in this business. Well, I had enough friends,
Right.
so it was time to make money.
Yeah.
And I just I love heat seekers. I
Yeah.
use it all the time. Some people don't really know what it means at first, but that's probably my favorite wrestling term.
Yeah, another heat seeker like Bubba Dudley. To me, just like he loves to just go out there and just find. And he turned Philadelphia against him one time when he was in TNA, and I was just like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, he's big time. Shawn Michaels was a strong one in his time before the Lord came into his life. But yeah,
Right.
that whole clique was probably heat seekers. Probably, you're honest with yourself.
Oh yeah, I mean that's all they did. All right, this last one is fun. This is not even a question; it's a hypothetical situation. Okay, we're going to pretend all three of us are sitting in this creative meeting. All right, and we're booking Ron Hughley. Okay, Ron Hughley to the top, all the way up. I'm talking Mania main event for the title against T-Mac. Give me the
Oh
storyline.
boy. All right. I think we just go real as hell.
Okay.
I think right now, I think those are the best ones. Like when Sergeant Slaughter, you almost felt like people were really out to try to kill him afterwards.
Right.
Or
He
CM
did.
Punk when he was doing the society and people were wanting to come. I think we should just make this like a full out 2017, some sort of a race war, some sort of race storyline that that is so real that people can't tell if it's different or not, or if we're faking or not. It really seem like we're pissed off at each other because, I mean, in 2017, that's probably the most divisive topic is race, and wrestling has always been about the reality, and what more could get more heat or more interest than people appearing to really be pissed off at each other.
Okay.
I'm just assuming T-Mac's not black. Maybe that's
No, you're assuming right. Yeah, no, that's very correct. Yeah, that's So who's going over? What's going to happen here? What are you gonna win the day here?
I think it would be easier for me. We might have Black Lives Matter come out on T-Mac if it was the other way around. So maybe I'm pushing him over. I'm the heel in this situation.
Yeah, that's a rough one because how's he gonna? Yeah, that would be.
But how much interest would that drive?
Especially if
reality.
If it was painting, if it was painting Black Lives Matter style as a heel, that would be very controversial for sure. That would draw a lot of interest, I think. Ooh. And then T-Mac, T-Mac getting over as a babyface and all that would be, that would be a first. That's for sure. So T-Mac gets the win. That's a good one. All right. So let's talk about let's talk about your stuff. What do you got? So you're on 610 Sports. Well, let's plug some stuff here. What do you got?
Yeah, we just launched our new show. We've taken over the evening from 6 to 9 when the Royals aren't playing, and we've taken over Sunday mornings from 10 to 12. It's called The Show with Ron the Show Hughley. Every night, me and my other guys, Steven Cerdes, co-host, Julio Sanchez, our producer, and we are very, very different.
I know Julio. I actually Julio's other job, where I won't mention it, but his other job, me and him worked together. Yeah, I know Julio really well.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we're very different. Last night, for at least 45 minutes, we got bogged down in a conversation of what really good actors are also actors who make really horrible movies, and it just spun into Nicolas Cage and all of his awful movies to go along with it. So we're really out there. We're really about entertainment and touching emotions and obviously if you listen to me, a lot of wrestling references. So. If you're looking for more different, it is unlike anything that you hear in this market, which it takes some time for people to get used to, but we kind of developed a following here of late, so people are starting to get the show, as we say.
I feel like it has a similar vibe to kind of what we'll do here, where we have a general topic, or at least You're going sports, but we will share stories. We will share stories of all kinds, and it's fun, and we like to entertain folks.
Oh yeah. We're entertainment is kind of the first thing for me. We're trying to cast a wide net. Want to pull casual people in, like the day you were talking about. You heard it spun into a 15-minute conversation about people just hell bent on believing that Beyonce would have opened for Garth Brooks in 2017, and we went off into 15 minutes of tangents. And
that'd been interesting.
Sometimes to me, that's more entertaining than talking about the fifth starter for the Royals. So
right, you might be right there. Well, all right. So, is there anything else? Is there Twitters, Facebooks, anything you want to get out there?
Yeah, man. Hit me up, Ronnie H Show, RONNIEH Show. And you can go on the 610 Sports website, go to the shows. The show is what the title of the show is called. You can go to that block and check out our podcast and see if you're interested in it. Come roll with us from 6 to 9 and 10 to 12 weekdays and Sundays.
Boom, I like it.
All right, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Have fun with this, man. Anytime you guys need me to jump in, I'm all about it.
Yeah, man. We'll have to come on.
Good, man.
Maybe have you back on and discuss, some current events and things like that, man. This is fun. Thanks for coming on. It was Ron the Show Hughley. Check him out if you're in the local area on 610 Sports. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, T-Mac, what'd you think? Ron Hughley.
It was great. Hey, and one thing that we also need to share is if you're not in the Kansas City area, as he mentioned, you can go on 610's website and listen to a show via podcast that way. So if you still liked him and want to hear him, but you don't live in this area or this radio signal that he broadcasts from, you can still check him out through the podcast on 610.
He's got a real fun, upbeat show, and like you said, it'll branch off. It's just kind of a fun, relax, listen to the radio. Like if you're driving home from work, doing some other stuff or whatever you've got going on that day that he's broadcasting. It's a fun show. There's been many times where I've heard him, and I'll be at home or I'll be going to the store or something, and I'll listen until the break. Right. I'll be sitting there just waiting in my car, listening to the break because he's fun. So let's get out of here, man. Let's take a break, and we will come back and we will do some listener emails. It's T-Mac's favorite segment of this show.
Indeed.
That'll be when we return to the Spanish Announce Table, which is on SpanishAnnounceTable.net. And
humans are the only mammals that can't swallow and breathe at the same time. TrendingTopicsNetwork.com.